Good morning all of you. My name is Ashutosh Rastogi and today we are going to discuss about various types of channels that has been used in the mobile satellite communication and various characteristics of those channels. So these are the outlines. We are going to start up with the introduction. Then we will going to discuss about mobile channel environment, which will be followed by fixed channel environment. Then we will going to discuss about land mobile channel characteristics, and finally we will going to conclude by discussing some of the channel models, that is your narrowband channel models and your wideband channel models. So the space between the transmitter and receiver is termed as the channel. The physical medium that connects between the transmitter and the receiver would have been called as your channel. In a mobile satellite network, there are basically two types of channels to be considered. Number one is your mobile channel and second one is the fixed channel. So the mobile channel exists between the mobile terminals and the satellites, whereas the fixed channel exists between the fixed earth stations or the gateway node and the satellite which are revolving in this space. So these two channels have very different characteristics which needs to be taken into account during the system design. So obviously the working environment is completely different in different types of channel environment, that is your mobile as well as static. So obviously we need to take into the consideration while designing the systems. The more critical of the two links is the mobile channel, since transmitter power, receiver gain and the satellite visibility are restricted in comparison to the fixed links. In fixed links all these things are almost invariant, whereas in the mobile links all those stuff, that is your transmitter power, receiver gain, all those are fluctuating. So with these fluctuating parameters it is quite difficult to perform the proper communication process. So the mobile terminal operates in a dynamic, often hostile environment in which propagation conditions are constantly changing. This is what we have discussed, that in the mobile environment conditions are changing dynamically. The local operational environment has a significant impact on the achievable quality of service. The different categories of mobile terminals, be it land, aeronautical or maritime, anything, also each have their own distinctive channel characteristics which needs to be considered. So obviously all these different applications will have different sort of characteristics and we need to take it into account while designing such sort of communication systems. So this particular figure is actually showing the mobile environment in which we will be having this satellite which is lying in the space, and these are the mobile users, or you could say that terminals. So these mobile terminals are actually getting some of the signals directly from the satellite, and some of the signal they will getting some diffuse components which would have been diffracted or reflected from these buildings, and some of the signal would have been received by this mobile terminal via this ground reflection. So these components are basically suggesting us that how a mobile user will going to get the signal. So this basically represents the mobile channel environment, whereas if we focus about this fixed earth station or gateway node, this connectivity between fixed earth station and the satellite is almost static. So this channel basically is showing the static channel environment. So the fixed station or the gateway can be optimally located to guarantee the visibility of the satellite at all times, reducing the effect of the local environment to a minimum. Obviously gateway node that we are considering is full of resources. It doesn't have any constraint about the power, and it can effectively track as well as transmit its signal to the satellite directly. So for the frequencies above the 10 GHz, major propagation impairment is due to the natural phenomena like rain. So I mean, if we are talking about the communication frequencies is above 10 GHz, the major propagation impairment that we get is due to the natural phenomena, likewise raindrops. So obviously there exists certain sort of absorption which will definitely going to attenuate the signal strength. So the local climate variation needs to be taken into the account, as these very different environment translate into how the respective target links availabilities are specified for each channel. In the mobile link, a service availability of 80 to 99% is usually targeted, whereas for the fixed link availabilities of 99.9 to 99.99% for the worst month case can be specified. So obviously these stats are self-explanatory, that if you are talking about mobile link, the service availability up to 80 to 99% is being considered as providing proper quality of service, whereas for the fixed links the availabilities of 99.9 to 99.99% can be achieved. So now we're going to discuss about land mobile channel characteristics. So the vast majority of mobile satellite measurements campaigns were found on the ultra high frequency as well as L and S bands during the mid of 80s and 90s. So obviously these measurement campaigns, by campaigns we mean that we will going to measure the signal strength, that how much signal strength we will going to receive at different positions. So after mid of 90s, focus has been switched to characterizing the next phase in mobile satellite development, that of broadband technology at the Ka band and above. So after mid of 90s, the focus has been switched from broadcast and voice type of services to your broadband technologies, which are operational over Ka band and above that. So the received land mobile satellite signal consists of the combination of three components, as we have discussed in the last figure. It is having the direct line of sight component, the diffused wave, that is the signal coming from various buildings, obviously after reflection or diffraction, and the specular ground reflections. So these three components we will going to receive at our mobile terminal. So the direct line of sight waves arrived at the receiver without reflection from the surrounding environment. So obviously that is why we are calling them as a direct line of sight, that it is directly coming from satellite towards your mobile station. The only L band or S band propagation impairment that significantly affect the direct components are free space loss and the shadowing. So in the L band and S band propagation, the only impairment, or we could say that the signal variation or signal deterioration we find is only due to the free space path loss, or we could say that some shadowing due to the various objects such as your tree, building, etc. So free space loss is related to the operating frequency and the transmission range. Although we all have gone through the well defined free space equation, that is PR is equal to PT GT GR into 4 pi by lambda whole square. So from that expression we can easily find that the free space loss is related to the operating frequency and the transmission distance. Basically it is the inversely proportional to your transmission distance, or more specifically I should say that it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the transmitter and the receiver. Tropospheric effects can be considered negligible at frequencies below 10 GHz. So below 10 GHz, tropospheric effects will not affect our signal much, but obviously when we go above 10 GHz, tropospheric effect will comes into picture and they will going to deteriorate our signal. So the impairment introduced by the ionosphere, in particular, that is a Faraday rotation, can be effectively counteracted by the selective use of transmission polarization. So the system operating above 10 GHz need to take into account for tropospheric impairments. Shadowing occurs when an obstacle such as a tree or a building impedes visibility to the satellite. This results in the attenuation of the received signal to such an extent that transmission meeting a certain quality of service may not be possible. The diffuse component comprises your multipath reflected signals from the surrounding environment such as your buildings, trees, as well as telegraph poles, etc. So these multipath component basically comprises your diffuse component of the received signal. So multipath has only a minor effect on mobile satellite links in most practical operating environment. So the first step towards modeling the mobile satellite channel is to identify and categorize the typical transmission environment. As we have seen in the last slide, that we have mentioned that multipath component is not going to affect much to our mobile satellite links, but it will going to affect much when we are discussing or communicating with the mobile communication systems. This is usually achieved by dividing the environment into three broad categories. What are they? Number one is your urban area, second one is your rural area, and third one is your suburban area. So urban area, it was basically comprised by almost complete obstruction of the direct wave, whereas open or rural areas where the traffic density is low or population density is low with no obstruction of the direct wave would have been considered as your open or rural areas, whereas suburban regions and tree shadowed environment where intermittent partial obstruction of the direct wave occurs. In general, we could say that your urban region basically signifying your city like environment, whereas your open area representing your rural areas, whereas your suburban region is actually being considered as the intermittent between your urban as well as your rural areas. Open and rural areas and suburban and tree shadowed environment are only considered in land mobile satellite systems. So only these two environments we will going to consider in land mobile satellite systems. In the urban areas, visibility of the satellite is difficult to guarantee, resulting in the multipath component dominating reception. So obviously, if we talk about your urban areas, the direct line of sight connectivity is quite difficult to achieve. So that is why there we might be having a dominant component of your multipath. So thus at the mobile, a signal of random amplitude and the phase is received. So obviously if it doesn't have any direct line of sight component and we will be receiving certain multipath components, so the received signal strength would be quite fluctuating and the signal of random amplitude as well as the phase would have been received, which would be improved by satellite diversity technique, allowing optimum reception of one or more satellite signals could be used to counteract the effect of shadowing. So obviously with this fluctuating signal we need to find out our actual signal. So this signal quality would have been improved via exploiting certain diversity technique where we are allowing reception the same signal from multiple satellites. So after combining them we can obviously improve the quality of that received signal strength. So the fade margin specifies the additional transmit power that is needed in order to compensate for the effect of fading. The threshold value of the signal is determined from the link budget. Link budget is basically a budgeting, or you could say that the analysis, where we actually find out that how much amount of signal will going to get lost while signal would have been received at the receiver. So it basically gives the insight to the transmitter that with what amount of power it should impart to its signal so that it could get easily transported towards your receiver. So the urban propagation environment places severe constraint on the mobile satellite network. As we had already discussed that in our urban propagation environment, we do not possess any direct line of sight component and we will be only receiving certain fluctuating amplitude as well as phase like signal. So we have to recover our actual information signal from that random fluctuated signal only. So this would be quite difficult. So although in the open space as well as the rural areas, we are getting certain line of sight component, but there also the multipath phenomena is the most dominant link impairment. That is, due to that multipath phenomena, we will be having certain sort of destructive interference at the receiver, which will going to affect our signal quality. So the multipath component can either add constructively or destructively to the direct wave component. This is what I am talking about. If the signal possessing the same frequency band and they are appearing at different time interval, then obviously they will going to interact with each other or they will going to interfere with each other. So due to that interference, at certain places their amplitude get added up and at certain places their amplitude gets subtracted. So where amplitude will get added up, at that place signal will get boosted up, whereas where the amplitude will get subtracted, there the signal strength will get attenuated. So we will basically getting a fluctuated signal which will going to distort our received signal quality. So this results in the received mobile satellite transmission being subjected to the significant fluctuation in the signal power. This is what we have discussed. So in the shadowed environment, along with the multipath effect, the presence of trees will result in the random attenuation of the strength of the direct path signal. The depth of the fade is dependent on the number of parameters including tree type, height as well as season due to the leaf density on the trees. So obviously foliage will going to be an important phenomena. So due to that foliage, the signal strength will further get attenuated. Fades up to 20 dB at the L band have been reported due to the shadowing caused by the roadside trees in a suburban environment. So this is again certain observed data. Whereas in the suburban areas, the major contribution to the signal degradation is caused by the building and the other man-made obstacles. So obviously if we are talking about certain open areas, there the shadowing would have been caused by the trees only. So that stats would have been shown here that it will going to provide certain attenuation, or it is basically providing the fades up to 20 dB. Whereas in the suburban areas, the major contribution to the signal degradation is caused by the building and other man-made obstacles. So due to these elements, we will be getting certain attenuated signal due to the multiple reflections as well as absorption of the signal. So these obstacles manifest as shadowing of the direct line of sight signal, resulting in attenuation of the received signal. So the motion of the mobile through suburban areas result in the continuous variation in the received signal strength and the variation in the received phase. So the effect of moving up in the frequency to the K or Ka band imposes further constraints on the design of the link. Since frequency would have been changing, so the design parameters will also get changed, and so as your antenna height as well as antenna designing parameters. So experiments would have been performed in the Southern California by Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This implies that 1% of the time the faded received signal is greater than 8 dB below the reference pilot level, and so on. So basically Southern California would have been performed an experiment whose finding is that the only 1% of the time the faded received signal is greater than 8 dB below the reference pilot level, and so on. So it means about 99% of the time we will be getting the received signal strength greater than the reference pilot level. So in all environments, fades depths at the K band and the Ka band were found to be essentially the same. So in all the environment, fade depths at different frequency ranges, that is your K band or Ka band, they are almost the same. So channel modeling is being classified into two categories. Number one is your narrow band channel model, and second one is your wide band channel model. So we will going to discuss them one by one. So narrow band channel models. So in narrow band channel models, the channel characterization is primarily aimed at establishing the amplitude variation of the signal transmitted through the channel. So the vast majority of the measurement components have been used the narrowband approach, and consecutively a number of narrowband models have been proposed. So obviously if you are talking about narrowband, it means the bandwidth, you could say, or the range of frequencies over which we are transmitting our signal is quite narrow. Whereas in the wideband channel models, the bandwidth used by the information source will be quite larger. So these narrowband channel models can be classified as being either empirical with regression line fits to measure data, they could be your statistical, or they could be your geometrical analytical. So we'll be going to discuss each one of them one by one. So empirical models can be used to characterize the sensitivity of the result to critical parameters, example elevation angle, or you could say your frequency. So first of all, you need to understand that what do you mean by empirical models. So obviously we will going to evaluate certain parameters via experimenting, and we will going to note it down, and then we will going to evaluate certain relationship that exist among various parameters. Whereas the statistical models such as your Rayleigh, Raytian and log normal distributions, I hope all of you have already studied in your wireless communication subject. So these Rayleigh, Riccian and log normal distributions or their combinations for use in different transmission environments are especially useful for software simulation analysis. So they would have mainly exploited in your software domain simulation analysis. Whereas your geometrical analytical model provides an understanding of the transmission environment through the modeling of the topography of the environment. In this particular geometrical analytical model, we will be having different sources as well as environment, and we'll be having different components of that environment, and with the help of certain geometrical tool, we will going to analyze them via modeling the topology of the environment. So empirical regression models. So number of measurement campaigns performed throughout the world have aimed to categorize the mobile satellite channel. So how we will going to categorize the mobile satellite channel? For this purpose, several measurement campaigns would have been performed. These measurement campaigns have attempted to emulate the satellite by using experimental airborne platforms, that is helicopters, aircraft, air balloons, or in some cases existing geostationary satellite systems have been used. So these measurement campaigns could have been performed via experimenting on these platforms. So now we're going to discuss about your ERS model. So this model is used to characterize the effect of fading predominantly due to the roadside trees. So in our empirical roadside shadowing model, we are mainly considering the effect of roadside trees. So the model is based upon the measurement performed in the rural and suburban environment in central Maryland, US using helicopter mobile and satellite mobile links at the L band. So obviously this experiment would have been performed in your L band only. So measurements were performed for the elevation angles in the range of 20 degrees to 60 degrees. And the 20-degree measurement utilized a mobile satellite link and the remainder a helicopter. So the subsequent empirical expressions derived from the measurement campaign for a frequency of 1.5 gigahertz would have been given by this particular expression: AL of P theta FL is equal to minus M theta natural log of P plus N theta dB for FL is equal to 1.5 gigahertz. M of theta would have been represented with this particular expression, and N of theta would have been represented as with this particular expression. Whereas all the constant terms, that is your A, B, C, D and E, would have been given as A is equal to 3.44, B is equal to 0.0975, C is equal to minus 0.002, D is equal to minus 0.443 and E is equal to 34.76. So these are the values of the constants, whereas this AL of P theta theta FL, this function denoting the value of the fade exceeded in decibels. So L denotes the L band, FL is the frequency at L band, which would have been taken as 1.5 gigahertz at this expression. P is the percentage of the distance traveled over which the fade is exceeded, that is in the range of 1% to 20%, or the outage probability in the range of 1 to 20% for the given fade margin, and theta is the elevation angle. So from the equation given in the last slide, the following model characteristics can be derived. So here we will be having different elevation angles, that is elevation angle of 20 degree, 25 degree, 30 degree. So at various elevation angle, what will the value of M of theta and N of theta, that would have been derived from the last expression. So these are basically the ERS model characteristics depending upon various elevation angle. So this particular slide is basically showing that how much fade we will going to achieve in our received signal strength via different path elevation angles. So on the x-axis we will be having path elevation angle, whereas on the y-axis we will be having fade exceeded in decibels. So this particular figure is basically showing as we are increasing the path elevation angle, the signal component which will going to get the high faded will reducing. So to increase the percentage of distance traveled or the outage probability, to limit the outage probability, that is lying between 20% to 80%, the ITU recommends the following formula: that would have been given as AL to K of P comma theta comma FLK is equal to AK 20% comma theta comma Fk multiplied with 1 over ln 4 ln times of 80 upon P. So where ALK denotes the attenuation for frequencies between 0.85 and 20 GHz. So the modified empirical roadside shadowing model, the European Space Agency modified the ERS model in order to increase the elevation angle range up to 80 degree and the percentage of the optical shadowing up to 80%. So one form of the MERS would have been given as A of P comma theta times of ln P plus B theta dB. So the P and theta are in ERS model are same as we have used in our ERS model. A of theta and B of theta would have been defined as A of theta is equal to A1 times of theta square plus A2 theta plus A3, whereas the constant term of A1 would have been given as 1.117 into 10 to the power minus 4. A2 would have been given as minus times of 0.0701, whereas A3 is equal to 6.1304. So whereas this your B of theta would have been given as B1 times of theta square plus B2 times of theta and summation with your B3. So the value of B1, B2, B3 would have been given as 0.0032 minus 0.6612 and 37.8581 respectively. So the next type of narrowband channel model is your probability distribution model, which is basically your statistical model. So probability distribution models can be used to describe and characterize with some degree of accuracy the multipath and shadowing phenomena. So this form of modeling allows the dynamic nature of the channel to be modeled via some probability theory. In turn, this enables the performance of the system to be evaluated for the different environments. As we had already discussed that we will mainly use them for simulation analysis. So these are basically your statistical model where we assume that channel will going to repeat out its properties with certain probability, or we could say that there exists a statistical dependence. Essentially, a combination of three probability density functions, that is your PDFs, are used to characterize the physical channel. So the Rayleigh, Rayleigh and log normal. What are so peculiar or specific about your different types of channels are, in Rayleigh channel, when a direct wave is present and is dominant over multipath reception. So this type of environment would have been presented with the PDF as Rayleigh distribution. Whereas in the Rayleigh distribution, we doesn't have any direct line of sight component present, and here the multipath reception is the dominant. So this environment would have been modeled with this your Rayleigh distribution. Whereas in log normal model, for shadowing of the direct wave when no significant multipath reception is present. So in log normal, we basically assume that it doesn't possess any significant multipath reception, and we will be having certain log normal shadowing of the direct component. So now we are going to discuss about your geometric analytical model. So geometric analytical model provides useful information on the mechanism of fading. So it does not require the purchase of expensive test equipments or the performance of lengthy measurement campaigns. So a powerful flexible model will enable a channel to be characterized for different transmission environments using different satellite constellations. So obviously we just only need to frame certain geometrical models, as we had already discussed that we need to frame that model via exploiting the topology of different components of your environment, and we will going to analyze different parameters. So this had been largely driven by the cellular and wireless network operators who need as detailed a map as possible of their operating environment in order to ensure the optimum placement of the base station. So while cellular planning, we had already discussed about hexagonal structure and how we will going to use that hexagonal cellular structure for cellular planning. So these models can be used to study the dependence of signal variations on parameters such as antenna pattern, azimuth, as well as elevation angle. So these are certain parameters. In addition to the topography of the propagation environment, it is also required to simulate the dynamics of the satellite orbit. So geometric analytical model are not as prevalent or as widely used as the other modeling techniques, since the chances of error is much more in your geometric analytical models rather than the other two types of techniques that we have discussed. However, the increasing computer power and as greater modeling information on the environment becomes available, there is an opportunity to develop sophisticated tools along similar lines to cellular planning tools to facilitate understanding of the transmission environment. So as we had already discussed that these geometrical analytical models standalone would have not been used due to its erroneous outcome, but due to the enhancement in the computing power, and we will also getting certain more information about the environment, so obviously we could develop certain sophisticated tool which can reduce the error and we get some optimum outcome. So now we're going to discuss about your wideband channel models. So due to multipath phenomena, a transmitted signal will arrive at the receiver via many different paths, each of which will be delayed by a different amount of time. So this is basically your multiple path environment where we had signal coming out from different paths, and if they are taking different path to reach to the common receiver, obviously they will going to take different time. So this is your multipath environment. So for example, we could consider that an impulse signal is transmitted at the receiver. The signal would take the form of a pulse distributed over a time period known as the delay spread. So obviously if you consider that at the transmitting side we have generated a impulse signal which is infinite similar small duration. So when at the receiver we will going to receive that impulse will not going to receive like a impulse signal, although we will going to get that impulse signal as a pulse which is having certain finite width due to that delay, and that pulse duration that we received at the receiver would have been termed as your delay spread. So related to the delay spread is the coherence bandwidth, which is the bandwidth over which the two signals will exhibit the high degree of similarity in terms of amplitude or the phase. So the signal occupying a bandwidth greater than the coherence bandwidth will exhibit a frequency selective fading. So obviously if signal bandwidth is much larger than the coherence bandwidth, it means that we will only going to get flat fading environment up to a significant or somewhat lesser amount of signal bandwidth. So obviously for some frequency component we will be having certain flat response, whereas for the other frequency component we will be having certain different non-flattened frequency response. So due to that we will going to receive a distorted signal at the receiving side. That would have been called as your frequency selective fading. So coherence bandwidth would have been given as 1 over 2 pi delta, where this delta would have been your delay spread. So the wideband channel model is usually presented as a tap-layered filtered structure. This is used to represent the reception of multiple signal echoes due to the reflections from the surrounding environment. So the measurement performed by the DLR Germany have concluded that the impulse response with n echoes can be divided into three regions. Number one is your direct path. So the amplitude of the direct signal is determined the propagation environment, for example Rician distribution in an open environment. Whereas the near echoes, so here the majority of the echoes resides with the delays between 0 to t, where this t would have been almost equivalent to your 600 nanoseconds. So the number of near echoes varies according to the transmission environment. Obviously we are talking about environment as well as different frequencies over which we are sending our signal. So the power of the new echoes is governed by the Rayleigh distribution with the delay decreasing exponentially. The third one is your far echoes. So what are they? Here t is greater than 600 nanosecond. Far echoes are characterized by the uniform distribution of delay and log normally distributed power. So the number of far echoes decreases exponentially. So this is all about your wideband channels. These are the references. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.